can the screen be seen already?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes. Fantastic. So let me start. So okay. Assalamualaikum everyone, and a very good afternoon. So thank you for being here today. My presentation today is entitled the Supplementary Anatomy-Radiology e-learning. Is it helpful or hurtful? My name is Atiqah, and I'm one of the lecturers, anatomy lecturers in Department of Chiropractic, IMU. Is it better?
Better. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So basically, this presentation is based on the article published in Malaysian Journal of Medicine and Health Sciences last year, and it's actually a part of my work during master's degree research under the supervision of Dr. Siti Normahanim, and also co-supervised by Dr. Fazlina, Dr. Hadif, and also Dr. Shamsi. Okay. So for today's presentation, I will take you through the background issue that's sort of inspire the research, and also I will address the research question that will be answered and addressed in the review article, and also I will highlight the importance of e-learning in anatomy education, the role of radiology in anatomy education, the instructional models that is usually used in creating e-learning, and also I will also highlight the pitfalls of e-learning, and lastly we will come to the conclusion of the topic. All right. So for the background issues, the research stemmed from two major issues in anatomy education. So the first one is the fact that anatomy is very content heavy and dry. So this leads to the students having low interest, also cause them to disengage from the learning process, and also result in difficulty for them to understand the content. Okay, so all of these three issues cause the students to practice rote learning. So rote learning is a superficial process of learning whereby they memorize the information from repetition, basically just to pass the exam. The second major issue is that there is a lot of change in anatomy education, particularly in the modern medical curriculum. So this has reduced the teaching time significantly. Beforehand, like traditionally, anatomy was delivered by using lecture combined with cadaveric dissection. So students at the time were expected to explore on their own and also have more time, spend many hours to understand the anatomical structure. However, with the horizontal and vertical integration of other subjects into the medical curriculum, that has reduced the contact hours for anatomy learning to a very limited amount. And this has caused students to cram a vast amount of anatomy information within a very short period of time. So again, students will practice rote learning. Okay, so these kind of students will not be able to retain the information in their long-term memory, causing them to be incompetent when they actually graduate. So the Anatomies has tried to help improve students' competency and understanding by using a lot of methods. However, no single method has proven to be superior. Okay, so in this review article, we would like to find a way, a tool to actually tackle these three main problems. So we would like to enhance knowledge comprehension and also foster engagement in students, but at the same time, does it impose extra cognitive load when creating the tool? So basically, the main question that we try to answer from this review article is how or what are the steps to create an effective and engaging radiologically integrated anatomy tool. But in this case, we have chosen e-learning to improve students' anatomy comprehension. All right. So the first step, we have to choose the method of delivery for the tool. So as I said previously, we have chosen e-learning, mainly because at the time it was during COVID-19 pandemic that the study has taken place. So e-learning seems to be the most convenient to reach out to the students. Also, with e-learning, there will be communications between student teacher and between students as well, because most of the e-learning or like learning management systems, they allow or they include the feature of forum or like comments under the materials. So that will foster or like encourage the students to ask questions even though they are a bit introvert in like face-to-face classes. Apart from that, the lecturers can also diversify their instructional material. So lecturers or educators are free to choose the modality that they like to present their content with, ranging from plain text to the most advanced, like these days, usually the 3D images or videos. It also allow the educators to update the materials easily, and then they can also rapidly or flexibly deliver the material at any time and any place. And it has been proven in studies that the e-learning are preferred by the students as well. This is particularly true for recorded lectures. So they are free to revisit the lecture after the face-to-face contact hours. Or sometimes educators can also prepare a pre-lecture preparation material for students to understand when they come to the lecture later on. And finally, e-learning has been proven to enhance students' performance, especially if it's used in conjunction with the face-to-face interaction. So this is true for blended learning. Okay, so that is the e-learning role in the anatomy education. Secondly, we have chosen to integrate radiology in this module because of the fact that in dissection-based curriculum, it has been proven that radiology material can enhance laboratory instruction quality as well as increases the efficiency of dissection time. On the other hand, for the non-dissection based curriculum, like the one in USM, integration of radiology material can help to students to have in vivo visualization of anatomy itself, the physiology, and also gives them insight into the pathological processes. Apart from that, these days, if you notice, with the advancement of medical technology, there is a growing importance of radiological imaging in clinical practice. Therefore, early exposure will increase students' confidence in applying their knowledge later on once they graduate and practice. Also, the radiology can improve spatial and sectional anatomy knowledge and enhance their observational and visual thinking skills, as well as increase their appreciation of pathology. Despite all of these benefits that I have outlined, there is still minimal integration of radiology in anatomy teaching globally, actually. So we try to encounter that problem as well, particularly for students in the preclinical year. The next step for creating an effective tool is actually to be aware of the instructional design. So in order to have a good and efficient instructional design, we can actually follow any instructional models that have been proposed previously based on studies. So I would just like to introduce you to the traditional and the most popular instructional model that has been frequently used in education. So one of it is the EDDI model. So EDDI model, it is developed by the Center of Educational Technology in Florida State University. And the EDDI stands for the 5 phases of designing. So the first one is to analyze, second one is to design, and then develop, implement, and evaluate. So that's the that's the process, that's the phases that forms the abbreviation ADDI. So this instructional model, it provides a very systematic guidance with a focus on implementation and also assessment. However, there is also, despite being popularly used, it is also recognized for having quite a bit of disadvantage. So the first one is the fact that it needs unrealistic or extensive analysis in advance, and that has been addressed by a study in 2017. And because of the fact that there's a lot of analysis, there's a linear and sort of inflexible steps that has been set in analyzing phases, analyzing phase. So because of this linearity and inflexibility, it can also hinder the creativity of the educators in creating the tool. Second model that is also frequently used in traditional education is the Gagne 9 events of instruction. So for this one, it has been developed based on the Atkinson's and Shiffrin's learning theory. So this learning theory states that the learning process occurs in a series of events, and the instruction model follows that series of events. So it's quite comprehensive, and because of its comprehensivity and also applicability, it has been frequently adopted in online learning. With the a rising frequency and also encouragement to create online learning, the researchers has noticed this gap whereby there should be a specific instructional models for online learning. So it has sparked a lot of interest for all of these researchers to come up with a new and adapted instructional models. Most of them base their research and also development of models based on ADDI model, and one of that instructional model is the one developed by Alonso, Lopez, Manrique, and Vines. So in their model, they have added two phases, which are execution and also review. So execution here refers to the process where the learners using the e-learning. Okay, implement is referring to the educators developing the tool itself. And the other one that has been added is review. So review here is referring to the process of refining the material, the tools, as a result from evaluation process, evaluation phase. So evaluation in this model, it refers to the performance by the students. So if the students do well, then they probably do not have much to improve in the method, in the tool. But if the students doesn't perform well, then they would have to do a lot for the refinement of the learning process. Okay, so there was also another instructional model that has been designed for online learning, and that is known as IDLE. Okay, so IDLE was developed by a PhD student named Siragusa, and then there's also another two researchers along with him, which are Dixon and Dixon. So these instructional models was created to serve as a guide that can accommodate the various students' pedagogical and delivery needs in higher education. So this model consists of three phases: analysis, strategy, and also evaluation. So for analysis, there are 11 dimensions. The one that is listed here, it's not actually the dimensions, but it's the list of components that has to be analyzed before creating the tool. Whereas for strategy, there are 11 dimensions included in there. And then the creator have to think of how to develop a web-based instructional and delivery strategy, as well as thinking about the organizational strategy, and also pick up the material. And finally, they need to write and produce the instruction based on what has been designed. And finally, the phases of evaluation only has 2 dimensions. So basically, it's to design and conduct formative evaluation, and then from the result of that evaluation, they should revise the instruction. So altogether, this model has 24 dimensions. However, the author themselves, they have addressed the fact that this instructional model needs to be accompanied by another instructional design models, so it cannot be used on its own despite the extensive dimensions that has been considered. And finally, the one that was chosen by us to be adapted into this study was the framework or the model that is known as ELED framework. Okay, so this one was developed by Tchaikovsky and Lyman, and it's actually the purpose of the creation or development of this model is to guide an online to guide the development of online instruction that stimulates a high level of students' engagement. So because our goal is to also tackle the issue of disengagement, we think that ELED was the most suitable to be adapted into this study. So as you can see in this framework, it has 4 phases, whereby the first one is to identify the instructional needs, and then we have to determine the instructional objectives, and then create the learning environments, and finally do summative assessment. And the good thing about this framework as well, that it encourages or like suggests feedback for every steps or every phases of the framework. All right, so despite the hype and also the encouragement to produce e-learning in a lot of medical curriculum these days, we educators and us as well during the study need to be aware that there are pitfalls of e-learning. So one of it is that it is subjected to students' motivation. So despite the fact that we have considered a lot of planning and also analysis prior to developing the material, the efficiency is also subjected to students' motivation. So low motivation has been proven to reduce students' engagement, self-discipline, self-efficacy, and also interaction with their educators. Apart from that, it is very, very easy for this e-learning to be poorly designed. So a poorly designed e-learning can cause incoherent material to be included, and it will cause the learning objectives not to be met, as well as imposing a lot of extra cognitive load on the students. Apart from that, on the other hand, if we were to produce a really, really good or like a well-designed e-learning, it will be time-consuming, labor-intensive, and can also be costly depending on the tools that we are going to use. So that has to be taken into account as well. And apart from that, we also have to consider that there are different levels of IT skills and knowledge among our students, and they would probably come from different background, which makes them unable to access the e-learning as much as the rest of their colleagues or peers. So basically, to conclude the topic today, we say that radiological imaging should be integrated in supplementary gross anatomy e-learning, because the integration of radiology as the clinical context will help to increase their sense of value in learning anatomy, and hence they would be more engaged. However, the content of it should be designed using a proper instructional design framework. Otherwise, with the complexity of radiology and also the anatomy content itself, it will impose a lot of extra cognitive load on the students, causing them to be disengaged even further. Right, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.